In this week's Torah portion, Nitzavim, which is always read immediately prior to Rosh Hashanah, we learn perhaps of Moses' most enduring legacy and his most powerful gift that he bequeathed to the Jewish people just before his passing. The Torah begins that he gathers all the Jewish people together into a covenant, and it lists them from the entire demographic hierarchy, from their leaders, elder statesmen, tribesmen, all the way down to the children, to the stranger. And then it goes on to the socioeconomic categories, from the very important and the CEOs of the Jewish people, even down to the lower stratas of the wood choppers and the water carriers. And he brings them all together in a covenant of co-responsibility and sharing, which our sages declared in this famous phrase, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh, all Jews are guarantors, each one for the other. The reason why this covenant is so unique is because the Jewish people had been through several covenants before. We learn of the covenant that God made with Abraham at the very beginning of the Jewish experience, the Brit Bein HaBesarim, between the parts, where he reveals to Abraham the future of the Jewish people and the land of Israel. We read of the covenant at Mount Sinai between God and the Jewish people and the Torah. But those covenants were made between God and the Jewish people on behalf of the Jewish people. This is the first covenant that is being made between the Jewish people themselves, that they recognize that they need each other, that we are in this together, and that this covenant perhaps is more important than any other covenant, because this covenant declares that the essential teaching of the Torah, of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, to love the fellow as yourself, as Rabbi Akiva memorialized Zeklal Gadol b'Torah, this is the most important principle of the Torah, can only be when we see each other as equal, and even more than that, as part of ourselves. You see, my friends, as we come together just before Rosh Hashanah, and in our prayers we're going to chant Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, in plural, inferring that we are all fellow siblings, beseeching our fellow united Father together. And we must think about, do we really consider each and every single fellow, each and every single human being across this vast universe, as our brother and sister, that we are gathering together to talk to our common Father, Avinu, together? The mystics tell us that what holds most people back from truly entering this covenant and realizing that we are our brother's keeper, we are our sister's keeper, it's this defiant response to the first question we find in the Bible from one human being, Cain, regarding his brother Abel, am I my brother's keeper? The Torah emphatically answers, absolutely. We entered a covenant to recognize that all of us, no matter where we are in life, no matter what job we hold, no matter what title we are all co-responsible for each other. We are guarantors for each other. This unique covenant that we exist in the Jewish religion, that what I do affects you, that my blessing can have you in mind where you answer Amen. When you do a mitzvah, it can be for me too. By the same token, my actions have a profound effect on every Jew around the globe. This is what Moses' gift to the Jewish people was, that we have to recognize the awesome privilege and the awesome responsibility at the same time. But what holds most of us back is, how can I really connect to every single person that we are one? It's so hard. Are we all really one? Is it really true? We're so different. We're so different in race, in culture, in background, in language, in socioeconomic backgrounds. So the Torah tells us something very, very important as we enter this holiday. Rosh Hashanah is a reset button to teach us that we have to imagine ourselves, the mystics tell us, that all of humanity is like one body. You know, in a body, you look at a body, it has many different organs, limbs that do many different things. And within that, there is a hierarchy. It is true. There is a brain, there is a heart, there is a nervous system. But then there's also arms, legs, elbows, toes, and the Kabbalists point out that all of the humanity is symbolized within this greater form of man, where each one resembles a specific organ and limb in a body. There are people who are the brains. There are the people who are the hearts, who are the emotion. There are people who feel the sensitivity in their spinal system. But then there are the people who are the arms and the legs of humanity, the doers, the shakers, those that are not weighed down by philosophy or by intellect, but they see a task that needs to get done and they do it. You know, when something in the body is hurting, they say, it's not just the brain and the heart that feel it, the entire body aches. When something is wrong physically, all of the body suffers. So too they teach us, we must imagine that in this great cosmic story of humanity, when one human being is in trouble or suffering somewhere, the entire nervous system, all of the organs of the body are suffering. It's not your elbow or your toe or your knee that bothers you. Your body in its entirety aches and hurts, even though it's located in only one area of the body. So too the mystics point out, if we would know that every single human being is part and parcel of us, they're just a different part of our body, but they are part of our body. And their aches are our aches, and their joys are our joys. I recall once hearing about a great rabbi in Israel who went with his wife to a doctor. His wife was suffering from some illness. And he, in a moment of agony, yells out to the doctor, "Doctor, our leg is hurting us," referring to his wife. He so fully identified with the pain that his wife was going through that it wasn't his wife's pain, it was their pain, our pain. My friends, if it is true in times of difficulty and in times of sorrow, how much more so is it true in times of joy and in time of elation? To feel the joy, to feel the wonderment of another person's gift, of another human being's happiness as our own as well. And so the blessing that Moshe gave the Jewish people before he passed to the next world was something that we need so strongly before this Rosh Hashanah. And that is that to fully feel and identify that we are forever one. There are so many important covenants out there. They are. And there is covenants between us and God, our personal relationship with God. It's certainly important. But the one that trumps all others, the most important covenant that we have, is the one we have with each other. It is the one we say, Barchenu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad. We ask in the Amidah, bless us, Father, all of us, as one. There's two meanings. One is that we should bless us as one, that we should all be blessed together. But there's a deeper and more profound meaning, and that is Barchenu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad. We ask God to make us feel that we are one. We may know it intuitively, but bless us that we should feel it, that we should know it deep down, that it's not just an idea abstract. It is true that we are one. And so may God bless us all as we enter this new year, that whatever happens to one happens to us all. To know that we are all one organism, we are all one collective body, and that what affects one part of the body affects the entire body. What affects one human being somewhere affects all of us. And when we do, and when we truly feel it, this Avat Yisrael takes on a different dimension. It is much easier to identify with this commandment. The idea of covenantal Judaism, that we are all one and we are all responsible for each other, and that we need each other, that we are incomplete with each other. And the famous imagery of the Baal Shem Tov, when he described that all of the people are like a Sefer Torah. And you are familiar that in the law of a Sefer Torah, there are so many letters. There are 300,000 plus letters in the Torah. But the law is that if one letter is missing, and it doesn't have to be the letter of Shema, it can be what's seemingly a letter that is not consequential in the entirety of the Torah, a letter of somebody's name of a genealogy story. But if even one letter is faded or missing, the entire Torah is invalid. The Baal Shem Tov taught so profoundly that it is a simile of the people of the world and of our nation. That if only one person, and it can be a person who, as the Torah describes, his job in life is to chop wood and carry water. What connection does he have to Moses? But Moses is deficient when Mr. Water Carrier feels that he's being left out. And that's why Moses gathered every single member of the nation at that moment to teach them that there is no one extra, no one is expendable, no one is superfluous. Every single person has an indispensable mission to complete. And it's not just his mission, it's a collective mission that all of us need for that person to complete, for all of us to find resolution and completion in our missions as well. May God bless us this coming year, that to realize that we are all this vast Torah scroll, all of these unbelievable, infinite letters, but we need all of them. We need all of them in our Torah, rolled in together. If even one is gone, the entire Torah is hurting. If one Jew, if one human being feels lost, it is incumbent upon all of us to bring it back into our fold and make it feel part of our collective body again. I wish you all a k'tiva v'chatima tova. May we all be written and inscribed in the book of life. Lashana tova matuka, to a happy and healthy and a sweet year. In a year where we realize that each and every single one of us need each other more than we ever know. Chazak, chazak v'nitchazek. May we be strengthened. May we be strengthened. And may we all be healed spiritually, physically, and emotionally as well. Shabbat shalom.